feel like I'm forgetting something. Okay, we're off. It is Monday again. But so far, not as bad as last Monday. I had some feelings of dread yesterday, knowing I was coming back in to another Monday, and it was more associated with not feeling like I accomplished enough over the weekend, extended weekend, to move me any quicker down the path of something different. Which, getting into the weekend, there was a certain level of excitement getting into the weekend, knowing that I had extra time to put into that. And I did some things, and it was a very peaceful, relaxing weekend for the most part. Very impromptu and spontaneous. We didn't make any plans. Everything was just kind of last minute. All right, let's do this. What are we going to do? Let's do this. And it worked out. It was little congestion, it feels like. High pollen counts this time of the year. We have 2 black vehicles, and at this time of year, every year, you come out and they are gold with pollen. It doesn't seem to be as much of an issue as when the cedar pollen is in there, but it still has just some minimal effects that we have to deal with. So, anyway, I did make a recording on Saturday, and I recorded it on my phone because I was out and about with Rhonda, and she had a showing on a home, and while she was showing it, I sat in the car and I felt compelled to make a recording, and it was kind of sporadic because there was 3 or 4 big topics that were on my mind that I really wanted to talk about. So I just kind of touched briefly on each of them, and as the weekend progressed, I felt like those ideas, those thoughts were evolving and gaining more that on a regular basis, so it's not a big deal. It's just the fact that it was on Easter that it was like that, because traditionally, like I said, it's always seemed to be a more uplifting day. And I was actually kind of looking forward to that to maybe help bring me out of this little bit of funk I've been in the last few weeks. My ups and downs have been more on the downside. My downs have been lower than they would normally be, and my ups have not been as high as they should be. And for me, part of that feels like I'm battling against the tide. And part of what I was talking about when I recorded on Saturday was the idea of belief, or the idea of faith. And in theory, I mean, you can believe whatever you want. I don't think that there's any right or wrong. There's no one better than the other. We're definitely in a free will situation, and you can choose whichever belief or whatever faith seems to fit you the best. And that's kind of where I left off on Saturday, was that I was expressing that faith and belief should enhance your life. They should really add something to it. There should be something that should be enriching. And I made a couple statements that the belief systems of old were no longer adequate. And I kind of want to modify that a little bit. And I do believe that is true, and I believe that's why so many people are feeling tense, they're feeling angry, they're feeling agitated, and perhaps why the energy for yesterday seemed to be so much lower was because of the conflict that's involved. There's going to be levels of evolution in the populace throughout humanity. They're just that's a given. That's just a nature of the system that we're involved with. And there's going to be individuals that will benefit greatly from certain religions, and I think that those religions can provide a certain level of enrichment and enhance the lives of those individuals. I think on the most part, humanity has evolved to a point where it's not sufficient. So when I said that those teachings, those belief systems, that faith is rooted in something that was more elementary, and that's the best way that I can describe it. And it's no different than growing up. When you're a child, the things that you believe in, the things that get you through and add intrigue, mystery, passion, excitement, any of those things to your life, and what you believe in is you're going to outgrow. Eventually you will, as you evolve and become older, you will outgrow, and those childhood or childish thoughts are no longer sufficient to help motivate you and inspire you and carry you through your life, which is why we're seeing such a large number of people just outright converting and saying they're no longer religious, they're atheists. And that's why I'm also suspecting that some people that are feeling like they're losing their faith, or their faith isn't providing them anymore, are trying to dig farther into it. They're trying to, rather than evolve, move past it, and modify their belief system to incorporate something else, they're trying to take a system that doesn't provide what they need as a person and make it into something different. And there's a lot of power in anger. There's a lot of power in hatred. And I think, and this is, again, my theory, is that the reason we're seeing so much conflict and the reason we're seeing so much anger and frustration is the ones that are unwilling to let go of a system that no longer benefits them. They're creating a certain amount of tension in their believe the exact same thing, and it's drifting into basically an addict kind of a situation. Faith and belief can give you a certain sense of being, and again, enrich your life, and you become addicted to that. You can, just like anything else, you can crave that feeling that it gives you, and then if that's not being satisfied, you're going to look to create a new craving, and anger is no different. You can feel anger and hostility and feel a rush from it. Case in point, right here, I'm an anger junkie, have been my whole life. I love losing my temper. I love getting angry, and it took me some time to identify that and really factor in that there's a place and time. And while feeling angry, feeling hostile can provide a certain fulfillment to that craving, it's not beneficial to you. You're closing yourself down. You're shutting yourself off to so many things that are out there. But again, it's a question of choice. You choose what you want to do. But we're seeing escalated counts of violent acts in the name of religions, and we're seeing outspoken individuals speaking out against other religions. They're operating under the assumption that theirs is the one and only choice, and that anything else is wrong, and it's all stemmed in the fact that they're not getting the fulfillment out of that anymore, and they're lashing out at other factions. And it's even carried over into our political race, and it's bullshit, and that's a dangerous path to go down. And again, to me, I am balance. I am that thing in between, and whichever way it goes, is really what I'm getting trying to say. And I think it's probably more beneficial for individuals to find new faith, a new belief system. And that is something that I definitely feel like I could provide. And I think it's no different than any other time individuals such as myself have come to be with the same goal in mind. And some of them have made it to a certain level and impacted the world around them and carried that over for years and years and years after that. And I believe that there's been attempts made by individuals such as myself to inspire and guide along the way, and maybe have been blown off course and did not reach their objective. And that's for another time. We'll talk about souls visiting the earth and trying to attain a loftier goal. But at this point, let's just keep it simple. Let's just say that from what I'm seeing, it's a crisis of faith is really what it's come down to. It is possible for you to believe in whichever system, whichever faith you want to, even if you create your own, which I think is probably the best way to go. And I think that's what the direction we're heading in, is more of an individualistic approach. should be respect for other people's choice, and as long as your belief system isn't infringing on somebody else's freedom, because it really does come down to freedom and respect. As long as your belief system doesn't infringe on that, then for all intents and purposes, you really have peace. And I think there's going to be conflict regardless, but I think that a certain level of peace is definitely feasible. I'll never remember which street this is. I'm pretty sure it's in this one. Six streets up. So anyway, like I said, it's just more of a modification, an elaboration on what I was talking about on Saturday. I tried to post that recording on Saturday. When I started off, I was thinking it was really just going to be for me. I lost count of my streets. Any of these labeled? Grand Vista. Next one, maybe. All that leads me back to what I've been trying to talk about, what I've been trying to express all along, and that's the idea of inspiration and the ability to inspire others to achieve and experience great things. This, I think, is the property I'm looking for. So what we have is a world that is a creative melting pot. I mean, we can really do whatever we want in this existence, and that's what it's all about, is creating something beautiful. Whatever you determine beauty is, and again, I love old cliches, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Whatever you deem as beautiful, create that. Imagination is the most important thing. And I sat down on Saturday or Friday, I don't remember, and I tried to write, and this is something I had in my head. I really wanted to write something about imagination, because that's really kind of, as I'm piecing all this together and trying to make something that can impact others, imagination is key, and it's really, as I was writing it, I couldn't come up with words to really push that idea into being. It seemed like it was lacking. I finished what I could, and I read it, and it just seemed, for all intents and purposes, it could have just said imagination is good and been it, because after reading all that, what I wrote, that's what I did. The feeling that I was feeling, that it conveyed from that, it was lacking. It just didn't have the that it needed to really express the importance of imagination. and the ability to create which is really what we're here for, experience and creation. You're sharing that with others. You are here to experience what you create for yourself, but you're also here to experience what others have created, and you're sharing that with everybody else on this planet and not on this planet. And that's another thing that I kind of had drifted into over the last couple of days is I can only convey so much. I can only speak about certain topics at certain times, but it always seems like there's something missing, because there is something missing. There's so much there. It's hard to communicate something that's on a scale and a scope as grand as the reality we're in right now, and make it presentable. You just can't get the whole picture in one shot. That's really what I'm trying to say. And a lot of my words, a lot of my phrasing, what I'm talking about, I keep saying this world, this universe, but I'm talking about more than that too. And it does incorporate much farther than what we experience on planet Earth specifically, even though I say, the benefit of the planet, the future of the planet. It's a certain amount of context associated just with that, but it's not limited to just that. And what I'm trying to do is identify and highlight key points and key factors as I build this body of work to help understand that. But just because I haven't spoken about it, or I haven't brought it up, or it hasn't been mentioned yet, doesn't mean that it's not there. And I just on occasion I will see a grander picture with a larger scope, and what I've talked about, what I've expressed so far, I feel like is neglecting other aspects of it. But everything in its time, I guess. So I need to check this house real quick, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this, pause this, do what I need to do, and then get back, because I'm on our way to the next stop.